Hi everyone, my name is Sven Boermeester. I'm the founder and CEO of Global Village Publishing Incorporated, and we publish books on innovation on different cities and countries around the world. And thank you, Tarek, for having me here on Voices of the Future.
It's an absolute pleasure to have Sven here with us today. Sven and I go back almost 18, 20 years, and in our little office in the Media City, we used to work with one of his earlier projects, and we'll talk about that today. But today, it's about Voices of the Future. He is genuinely one of the voices of the future. He's traveled to over 100 countries, he's published books in so many cities, and we do a deep dive into his experience in terms of very niche and focused publishing projects that he has, and also how he has taken that to the next level, and people like us coming together as partnerships, as strategic partners with him, to really come up with something truly unique. Sven, happy to be here. Thank you very much indeed for joining us, and thank you for being such a great partner. This project has been dragging a little bit, if I may say so. I know you struggle with that too, but we're nearly there and launching in a couple of weeks. And we wanted to make sure that you, as our partner, publishing partner, with whom we want to have a long-term relationship, is an integral part of this journey. So, firstly, welcome.
Thank you.
Sven, in my inimitable style in terms of Hollywood, let's do a little flashback. Tell us about little Sven. Was he naughty? Was he crazy? Was he running around being completely out of order? Or was he studious and going to school properly?
No, probably not. No, it's probably the black sheep of the family,
Right.
for sure. But I traveled a lot as a kid. My parents shipped us around quite a bit, and born in Belgium, grew up in South Africa, and
Right.
did a lot of flying as a kid back and forth. I guess may have lost my roots a little bit by always being on the move, but at the same time fascinated about the rest of the world and really wanted to carry on going and see everything there is to be seen on this planet. So.
Tell us about how you started your first project, which is the Best Of project, which is where we came together. Tell us the journey of your business and your experience.
Sure. In the early days, I was in South Africa. I started quite young with the publishing on my own. We published all the trade directories in South Africa, and then the problem with South Africa was the South African rand started falling apart, and all of us South African expats, you'll find us everywhere around the world, realized we weren't going to survive making rands. We have to go and find dollars and euros, and go and explore the world.
Sure.
So then I ended up in New Zealand and got involved in the project there, which is the Best Of, which is really a showcase book for the America's Cup, and that was a one-off project. But then I realized you don't need an America's Cup yacht race to publish a book on everything that's going on in a country. Every country should just have it. And that's when I moved to Dubai, and we ended up sharing offices, and I started the Best of Dubai book.
Yeah.
And then from there, luckily Dubai was, this incredible center of the world. We published Dubai. Very soon it was Abu Dhabi, then it was Saudi Arabia, and Egypt, and before we knew it, I think 15 years later, we have probably 60 of these. We published many volumes, that's the innovate, but we published in over 60 countries, and that was in a time when book publishing was still pay to play. So there was the Best of Paris, and I think in the next clip you'll see that tower of books behind. There we go. That's the library in South Africa of all the different books.
Right.
Publishing then was relatively easy. It was pay to play. So a government would give us some money, and everyone would pay to be in there, and we'd write their stories, and then we'd give them free books, and they'd be used as corporate gifts. But Best Of didn't really talk to another Best Of. They were really just economic showcases that governments would use to drag investment and to give as gifts to VIP visitors.
Yeah. I've noticed that you move from countries and governments to cities. Is there a reason behind that? Because I personally genuinely believe that the future is not going to be influenced by governments and the central politics, but more by mayors of cities, because they're the ones who have created that energy within that space, whether it's Florida or in Colombia, which is Medellin, and many other places like that. What are your thoughts on that?
When Best of transformed into Innovate, it happened in Tampa Bay. I did a one last Best of Tampa Bay for the mayors of Tampa Bay, because it's actually multiple cities around the Bay. And there was a chapter in there on innovation and entrepreneurship. And they said, please, could you help us map out the innovation ecosystem of Tampa Bay? And that's, they explained to me why. And there were 4 reasons. One, Tampa Bay sits in the shadow of Orlando and Miami. Because everything's Orlando and everything's Miami, and then Tampa Bay at the time, people would think it was just an old age home. But meanwhile, there was enormous things happening, was really starting to boom. So they needed a tool and a marketing piece to tell the world, look, Tampa Bay is a place you should set up shop and do business. That's one. Second, collaboration. A city, the more the community collaborates and works together and supports their startups, and that there's co-working spaces, the government gets involved. Everyone as a community should be one happy. Everyone should know each other. Everyone should support each other, and that collaboration is what really helps grow your local economy as a city. We are competing with other cities, right? And that means we're almost like a rugby team, right? And we need to work as a team.
Sure.
So that collaboration is important. So by telling all the stories and having an event and bringing them together was a big deal. Thirdly, they needed a recruitment tool. So there's brain drain. People, that have a startup and they would, run off to Boston or San Francisco thinking there's more money and support there. Meanwhile, there was ample support back home. We just need to put that at the forefront and show them and connect them.
Yeah.
All right. And then fourth, the investment drive.
Yeah.
There's a lot of money sitting on golf courses, retired and snowbirds, and we wanted to show them, hey, why don't you take Friday off from golf and come and mentor and get back in the game, take 10% of your real estate portfolio and bring it back into the ecosystem. And those 4 drivers is really why we started the book. But to my surprise, they said I wasn't allowed to sell advertising. So everyone had to be in for free. And they said, don't worry, people will buy the books and use them as corporate gifts. And that's how you survive. So I took a risk. And lo and behold, we sold 3,500 copies, and they started distributing them all across America. And next, didn't take a week, I got a call from the dean of Jefferson University in Philadelphia and said, I've just got my book from some IP lawyer in Tampa. Can you hurry up and do Innovate Philadelphia? Now, 5 years later, we have about 60 of these, and every month we launch a new one somewhere around the world.
It's interesting you spoke about the advertising piece, or not the advertising piece, because what you've done is created a new model. More of a crowd-funded model in some kind of a way, so that, and then we'll talk about Voices of the Future, which is exactly the sort of same thing, because I think the noise of advertising in these kinds of publications is irritating at best. So you've basically pioneered that kind of a concept in terms of publishing.
Yes. Because then you get to decide who goes in there, and so does the community. It's not who paid to be in there is in there.
Yes.
It's the true, authentic players that, if you want to map out an ecosystem, you have to map them all out. And some of them will buy hundreds of books, and some will buy one. Yeah. And it'll all come out in the wash, and it doesn't matter, because some people have bigger budgets than others. But if it's authentic and published right, then people want the book, and they'll distribute it with pride. Yeah. And then the success comes by itself. And
Talk to us about this one. I mean, this is one of the books that you did. What do you remember about the book in Montreal? Was there any stories from there that touched you, connected with you from that particular publication?
Well, this is probably, I think, book number 3.
Yeah.
And so this is still the early days.
Yeah.
And it was a little bit tougher. This had to be done in English and French. Okay. Yeah. But we got tremendous support, because as soon as we finished publishing this, we got very well connected with the government of Quebec. And there was a chapter in here on artificial intelligence.
Yes.
And we have maybe 10 stories in that chapter.
Yeah.
And immediately they came to us and said, we have 1,000 AI companies in Quebec, 1,000.
Indeed.
And we fund them. Can you please do a book just on AI Quebec?
Yeah.
and yeah, and then industry books started coming on, and then straight after they said, can you do a book on Quebec itself?
Right.
Because there's all these smaller little cities and towns that will never see the light of day, because we cannot publish a book of a town with 10,000 people in it, but there's 3 good stories. So can you do the province, the state, the region of Quebec?
Right.
And we're finding that as we do the cities, like you could do Atlanta, but we also do innovate Georgia, because there's all that. There's so many little stories hidden in these middle of nowhere places that we need to bring together. So it's cities and states.
Yeah. When I became the publisher of the Times and Sunday Times newspaper in 2007, I remember very distinctly all of the media was giving me a super hard time, saying, but printed stuff is just out of the window now, and the whole world is going digital. I thought you were a forward-looking person. Why are you bringing a printed newspaper to this country? And I said the demise of printed newspapers is grossly exaggerated. Right. I don't think it's going to happen as fast. And I was actually quoted on that. And 15, 20 years later, it is grossly exaggerated because, again, I come back to printed books. What's that special feel that people get when they see a printed book versus an ebook? What is your reflection on that?
Yeah, I mean, we've thought, will we one day just be doing ebooks? But our Jack in the Box is this physical hardcover book. People love it. It's a legacy piece. People never throw that away. The amount of effort, time, and resources that goes into putting that together, brings the credibility factor to that information in there that is unrivaled. There's so much fake news and so much, content out there. But when it's packaged in something like this, where you have the hardcover, it's silver embossed, it's wood-free paper. We put AR videos inside. It's wood-free paper. People say, "Hey, you're cutting down trees." That's not true. This is waste products. But also, if you understand the printing industry, before the printing press, we had less trees in this world than today. It's thanks to the printing press that we started planting so many trees. We have more trees today thanks to publishing than we did before. No one talks about that. All right, and then still we recycle and we this is waste paper, right? Yeah. This cutting down of trees because of print is really not an issue.
Yeah. So, and this sort of brings us nicely to our book that we're doing together. And we came together about 15 months ago on this project. It started slowly, but then it gathered momentum. And the way I felt that it sort of meandered, but it sort of morphed into something bigger than what I had intended initially. But what we have now is generally, we're basically building a beautiful masterpiece as Voices of the Future. And the idea, I think I'll share the story with you, is that the media calls me the voice of the future, and they wanted me to write the voice of the future. And I said, after sort of chapter 1, I said, hang on, this is not me. I'm not arrogant, self-absorbed, narcissistic Instagram generation. I'm old school. And it just wouldn't sit comfortably with me to be. It's about me, myself, and who I am, and what my stories are. And all I did was added an S. It became Voices, and it exploded. And it was inclusive. Everybody wanted to participate. So as a global speaker, when I went out there, a lot of these speakers here, I have actually co-presented with them. Right. And I've been on stage together with them. So they all happily volunteered to actually join the book. So that was the first phase. The second phase was, I was just getting too much interest. So how do we put it and gel it together? So it started becoming an orchestra. And what I was doing was connecting the dots. I was the maestro, putting the symphony of the orchestra together. So that became sort of my role. So that's been my journey as I developed. So thank you. Very grateful that we are able to come on this together. And we'll do many things in the future. What are your thoughts in terms of where the future of publishing, printing, and this kind of communication is going? What are your thoughts in terms of how will we be absorbing new content in the future?
Sure. I mean, not to knock your newspapers too much, but I'm afraid those days are dwindling. You know, the news, the
Yes.
magazines, you know, they have been replaced by digital for the most part. I do think that this next generation will not be reading newspapers in print. Our niche kind of book publishing, if anything, may grow as there's less and less print. People misprint, but as long as print is not just a throwaway item, it's a corporate gift, it's a legacy piece, it's a trophy, and it's credibility, and it's something you want to, you know, it's something you want to keep, then that will stay alive for as long as as time will allow us. But it's certainly not going away in our lifetime.
Yeah.
And the future, we do have to integrate all the digital elements into it. So the book itself has hidden QR codes, so you can hover your phone over it and watch videos like Harry Potter's newspaper, as yours has, full of QR codes, so you can, you know, get all your information. We're even looking at NFT chips that we can, you know, near field communication chips to put in the book to do all sorts of actions. Then online, obviously, all these things have to be ebooks. All our stories have to be very social media friendly, so that they can share their experience as nominated or being part of this special project. So social is a big part of, you know, getting validation of being part of this. And then our latest project is the NFT yearbook, where we really had to pull out all the stops, because now this book is both a physical book and it's also an NFT, and it sits on the blockchain, and it's on OpenSea. Every book is unique with its own cover, and it's book one of one. And, you know, we had to deal with people that are, you know, crypto, you know, it's a cult of very intelligent people that live in this world. And to publish for them, we had to do everything, you know, that is digital and 3D and NFT and you name it. And it's great. So we're learning a lot from, because that is the future.
Yeah.
I know that the metaverse and NFTs have died a bit, but it'll come back. It's just there was that first wave, right?
Yeah.
But within that community, people love that book. It's 600 artists in it, and to them, it's not dead. It's the ultimate trophy and it's also a glimpse of what happened in time and all the players in it.
Yeah.
And it'll come back. And we will end up in the metaverse with our libraries, and you know, as technology increases, we'll be doing both.
Indeed, and we've added one further dimension to this as part of Voices of the Future, because we have done, obviously this podcast will be say 30 minutes. That'll give us between 30 to 40,000 words. We put that into a ChatGPT, a large language model, and therefore times 100, so over 3-4 million words. And so that becomes a starting point. So you actually have a book that you can talk to, that you can query. They can say, well, you know, what does the book say about love? What does the book say about trust or ethics or anything? And the way we've trained it is just it'll give you, what does the book say about love? This is 2 paragraphs of that. Then this person said that, Sven said that, Tarek said that about love. So I think this is one of the ways of micro consumption of content. And the fact that the book is there, and then this methodology is there, it actually helps us to engage with content differently. And I think that's what will keep us fresh, in my opinion. So this will remain, but I think that content can be disseminated in 50 different ways.
Sure. We still obviously use editors, and, you know, we'll use a bit of ChatGPT to, you know, to get the ball rolling, but then we'll have to rewrite, and it is speeding things up. So instead of having 10 editors on the payroll, now we have 5, because we're just doing things twice as fast. Graphic design will also one day help us, and we can't say, we're still designing everything page per page, but I can see very soon we can put the templates and grids in there, and it'll probably pop out the pages the way we want it. We can pick 1 or 2, and instead of having 10 graphic designers, we'll only need 2. So that is coming.
Indeed, and I was going to come to that question, is that the future of publishing will fundamentally change because of that. So, and the proliferation of books and the speed at which we can come out with a book in the future will be, you know, 10x faster, for exactly the reasons that you have mentioned. Just yesterday, I was reading a 120-page report, and beautifully designed, But when I looked at it at the beginning, it said all of the images were created by Gen AI, and there was human intervention to review them. The content is ultimately ours. However, we drew it from there. It was a report around future megatrends. Here I was, super impressed with this book, but actually probably one person put it together, and probably not in a very long period of time. And that particular institution is rolling out projects, literally one a month, and I'm saying, wow, they must have a brilliant big department doing that. I don't think they do. I think they're using the tools that are now available, and this is how publishing will end up becoming. So it is a shift, is it a change for people like us who enjoy the touch and the feel and potentially old school. This is a lot of new learning for ourselves. Sven, you have traveled to about 100 countries. You've been all over the world. What are the kind of things that you're bringing, the stories that you're bringing back? How are you connecting the dots of that and bringing to this world that we're talking about?
Like you mentioned, it's not just about countries, really, it's about cities now, right? Mm-hmm. And just as I thought I'd seen the world, I haven't seen nothing, because there's 10,000 cities in the world, right? And now that we've, pretty soon we'll be on 100 cities, that's 1%, right? So where do I end? So if we can get to publish 10% of the world's cities, that's 1,000. That'll take me a lifetime. Sure. I feel the more I travel, the less I've seen. The world is actually quite large. We say it's small, but if you actually drill down from city to city, it's large, and it's addictive. But I find that all cities and people and economies are quite often really much the same. In these modern times, the slight cultural differences here and there make it a bit tougher. But for the bulk of it, we're all not that different all around the world.
Indeed. You and I we spoke about the future of publishing and how this thing is going to evolve, and it's wonderful to see that you are extremely digitally aware in terms of the trends that are taking shape. What are the new business models you think might be coming up in this business? Are they subscription-based models? Where do you see this industry going?
Well, we've had to reinvent ourselves multiple times. I come from the days of publishing directories with just pure adverts inside them. Yeah. Then we had to turn them into advertorials and best of. Yeah. Now we can't even do that. Now we have to just crowdfund book sales. Yes. And get checks from cities. All right. So and then what is the next step? Obviously, we are building big databases because we've told 10,000 different innovation stories. Pretty soon, at some stage, there'll be 100. So we are collecting stories and databases from the most intelligent people in the world, as voices of the future. We, together, we are collecting, stories from the brightest minds. And how do we connect those people together? Yeah. We want to introduce them to each other and make it easy. So, to do that. The book is one thing, but yes, we want to put a subscription model in place. At the moment, all these books can be read free of charge on Innovations of the World. Ebook completely free, everyone can read it. But at some stage, we'll have to put a subscription wall behind it and say, well, if you want to talk to any of these people, we can help you, and tell us who you are, and then we'll make a warm introduction. Because if you've been in one Innovate book somewhere in the world, we believe you're of the caliber that could talk to someone else that's been in Innovate somewhere else in the world. And then, so there's that matchmaking, maybe hosting, a few more online events, and really connecting these minds so they can share their IP and their knowledge, and innovation can flourish, because it's all about collaboration, right? And
Indeed, nothing will happen without collaboration. I was just literally talking about this morning with somebody else, and every single industry sector that we are talking about, whether it's the environment or health or technology, telecoms, they have started realizing that the verticals are finished. They have to be horizontal. Mm-hmm. And this is part of what I do in my keynotes, is that now, a bank generally is worried about competition from another bank. 10 years ago, they discovered, actually, there's something called a fintech. And now they're worried about fintechs. And now when I present, I said, well, I think you should be worried about telcos, because telcos are becoming fintechs. Right. And telcos have access, and they have cash, and they have whatever. and the banking licensing and the structure is changing. So you're going back to first principles as far as banking is concerned, and telcos are becoming major competitors. So the future is that without collaboration, without looking left and right, without having peripheral vision, vision is not just looking forward anymore, it's looking left and right just as much as forward, otherwise you get left behind.
Yeah, I mean, on that, I was in Kenya a couple of months ago, starting Innovate Kenya, walking around with cash. And everyone's using this M-Pesa on their cell phones, but I don't have a local SIM card, so I can't pay anyone. And I'm sitting there with this cash. No one wanted my cash. I was trying to buy a hamburger at a restaurant, said, we don't take cash. Don't you have M-Pesa? I said, no, I don't. And it just felt like, no one could give it to beggars. It's like no one walks around with cash. No one wanted it. They almost frowned at me. Bring out your phone. And, all I could use is some of my international credit cards, which, didn't always work. Everyone worked on this M-Pesa based on their phones. And the whole economy works on that.
Indeed, and they were the pioneers and they were the innovators. It's an outstanding business model and the way they pulled it together. Sven, in my travels and in my conversations on Voices of the Future, there's obviously a lot of technology. And my thesis is that anything and everything that can be digitized will be. Because it'll be 1 million times faster and 1 million times cheaper. Mm-hmm. But anything and everything that cannot be digitized, love, connection, critical thinking, judgment, wisdom, heart, speed, soul, all of these things are imagination, intuition, creativity. They'll be 1 million times more valuable. So my comment is that the more technological the world becomes, the more human we need to be.
Right.
And a lot of the book is about humanity. What are your thoughts on that?
I am a little bit worried about AI, to be honest, in the way that it's moving so fast. I really am. We're just beginning, right?
I'm the same. I call AI a weapon of mass destruction, potentially. The guardrails that nuclear fission had with nuclear weapons, AI doesn't have that. Right. Data doesn't have that. So we are looking at some very testing times in front of us. Right. The other thing is greed, power, and lack of ethics.
Well, yes. I do find that, having, not just traveled the world, but just, in the last 20 years, publishing it, I do find that, people's moral compass has skewed a bit over the years in many governments, and, there's, all these wars breaking out and the greed of money and the divide of rich and poor. It's not going in the right direction. You can have as many, COP agreements and functions in Switzerland to try and save the planet, but it doesn't seem to be working. We're going in the wrong direction. And I do worry about that a little.
We're really privileged to have Sven here, who is the CEO and the co-founder of Global Village Productions, and they are our publishing partners, and we are delighted to be working with them. They have an amazing team and a great business model that they put together. And somehow we just found a way to align and put things together. So now we're getting towards the end of completing the Voices of the Future, and then launching at the end of the month, and then things will start, and we'll do lots and lots of fun things in the future. Sven, future is the key word here. The future is really moving extremely rapidly at this point in time. And again, we spoke about how the media industry is going to change and stuff. What kind of a future do you see for your children? Are you optimistic?
Growing up in South Africa, we've always been eternal optimists.
Yes. We needed to be.
We needed to be. So I choose to live that way. I mean, I'm a little bit, fearful. The world is, I do find it's a bit in peril.
Yeah.
And, as I mentioned before, humanity's moral compass seems to be going the wrong direction.
Yeah.
The AI will, swallow up many, many, many jobs. I have kids that are about to go to college. They don't know what to study because, whatever you're going to study, is that job still going to be there? It's a real head scratcher.
Indeed.
And so the future's never been more uncertain. And it's moving so fast that, it's very hard to predict. And it's probably quite exciting at the same time, but it's scary. You better have your finger on the pulse. You better find your passion, and go with it, and enjoy what you do and do it well, and make sure you're the best in the world at it. And you can only do that if you're passionate about it. So find that, and it doesn't matter how long it takes.
Yeah.
You know, maybe go off and study. If it's the wrong study, it doesn't matter. Reboot, start again. As long as you keep moving, and hopefully you'll find it along the way.
Indeed. It's a nice little segue to have a little bit of fun with the future. Let's get into a time machine and project ourselves to your 100th birthday. So we've arrived on your 100th birthday. What are we celebrating? What are we congratulating you for? What do you see around you? When you look out of the window, what do you see? What will make you happy?
Sure. One, that I made it to 100. I hope I can carry on doing what I'm doing, because I'm very passionate and I love what I do. You know, that's that cliche, you know.
No, it's not.
A man and a woman that loves his job never has to work a day in his life. You know, I feel I'm living that life. Indeed. And I'd like to carry on. I would never retire. You know, because to me this is already retirement to a certain degree.
Yeah.
I would never want to stop.
Yeah.
So I hope that, and luckily, as I say, there's 10,000 cities. So the fact that I'm on 60 or 70 means, you know, I can carry on till I'm 200, or my kids can carry on. So let's hope that you know, that can continue, and connecting all these different innovators that we can also publish innovation for good, and really try and fix the world's problems through innovation, and getting those people that, you know, those minds and those ideas together that can speed up and fix the problems of the world, and maybe we have a small role to play in that, right? And
when you look out of the window, what do you see? What do you visualize?
Well, I'll never have to drive a car again, that's for sure.
That's true. Will it be green and trees? Hopefully.
Well, after the rains in Dubai, I can't believe it. If it rains anymore, we'll be in the jungle.
Yes,
no, obviously, I'm sure global warming will still wreak havoc in our lifetime, I'm afraid. But you know, it's in 100. Well, I'm already 50, so that's in 50 years' time.
You're at half time.
Yeah,
you're only at half time. A long way to go, but seriously, you go inside, you change, you come back, and you've got another 50 to go.
Well, these 50 went really, these last 20 years went extremely fast. I cannot believe how quickly it goes.
Yes.
And that's also quite scary. So you know, really make the best of it, and you know, life is wonderful if you allow it.
Absolutely, I'm very optimistic, and I'm really excited. There's a lot of work that is being done on longevity and so on. So 100 will be the new 60, as they say. And for every 2 years that you live, you add on another 2 years because there's so much research happening and life evolving and so on. And one of the people in the book, Dr. Jaffer, he spoke about, he said the kid that will live to 150 has already been born.
Wow.
So, you know, 120 will be the mortality age in the next 25, 50 years. So, we've got a different world ahead of us. And in that world, as a final question, if you were to leave a message in a bottle for your kids going to college, or for other young people or other people watching something like this, what would be your one-line, two-line advice to them?
Remain curious and find your passion, even if it takes you to, or however long. But do not be stuck in a dead-end job and just do it for the money and waste your life. Yeah. It's not about the money, it's about the passion. And if you're passionate about something, you will do it well and the money will follow. Yeah. So please go out there and find that passion, enjoy it, and forget about the money and everything else. Just follow your dreams.
It's a very profound answer, very simple one, but I think it's something that will really resonate with a lot of people, because I think passion, love, humanity is the future. Sven, it's been a real pleasure working with you. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you,
Thanks for being with us.